I'm going to show you an example of what makes a bland melody. So if I'm hitting a C chord, for example, I'm saying la. That note within the flow of a melody, as I will show in the next minute, doesn't sound very spicy, because that note is there in my chord. Na doesn't really jump out either, because that's there. La. So if I build a melody over that chord that only has the notes la 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 la, the sound as interesting as, for example, sing this ra da 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 la la, because I always sang a note now that clashed with the harmony. La, that's a D, resolves to C. La, F, E, da da da, A, G. So by adding notes in melody that don't belong to the chord, you add more spice. So automatically the melody, because of that, becomes more interesting, more spicy, in other words, really. Just like adding spice to a meal, right? So by adding a little salt, I mean a little salt and a little pepper to the meal, automatically the meal kind of opens up, the taste opens up, becomes more tasty. So same with melodies. You don't want melodies that consist only of chord tones. Now, of course, this example was over like one chord, but typically there's more chords in a chord progression, of course. And the most common chord progression, as I covered in previous blogs I wrote about songwriting, are 1, 4, 5, meaning the first, the fourth, and the fifth chord in the scale, which in the key of C will be, if you count down on your fingers, C, D, E, F, G. C, F, and G are the first, the fourth, and the fifth chord in the key of C. So here's what most inexperienced singer-songwriters do melody-wise. They're strumming chords, and then they base their melody based on the chords they're hearing, but oftentimes they don't have enough of a developed ear, so their melodies end up being just notes that sound very pleasing to them, as opposed to notes that kind of rub you the wrong way a bit, which are important notes also for the reason I explained earlier. They add spice and tension, meaning for motion towards resolution in your melody. So most, like very often singer-songwriters, their melodies sound kind of like that. La 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 la. Now, there's nothing wrong with that melody, except for the fact that you will lose half of your listeners halfway the song, because people would feel, without being able to explain why, of course, because they're not singer-songwriters, your listeners would feel like the song is boring. They would like use words like boring, not fun to listen to, not good, right? So, and the reason is because the melody is just not inviting enough, and the reason why the melody is not inviting enough is because I only sang chord tones. However, if you do this now, we add like all these other notes of a scale to your melody line, rather than just singing the notes of the chord that belong to the chord you're hitting at that time, which over C chord would be C, E, G, over the F chord, F, A, C, G, B, D, C. So instead of just singing a C, E, and a G note over a C chord, or an F, A, and a C note over an F chord, or a G, a B, and a D note over a G chord, it helps to like sing over that chord one of the other four notes that don't belong to that chord to add more spice. And so on. It's a much stronger melody line because it moved more, there's more curve to it, because it's not just like jumping up and down chord tones. So it's more of a motion in the melody. But not only that, I had all these notes also that kind of clashed with the chord, then eventually resolved, so the melody kind of really feels like it's moving forward, just like life is, right? Tension, resolution, tension, resolution.